The persimmon, pərısɪmən, is the edible fruit of a number of species of trees in the genus Diospyros. Diospyros is in the family Ebenaceae. The most widely cultivated species is the Oriental, the Japanese persimmon, Diospyros khaki. In color, the ripe fruit of the cultivated strains range from light yellow-orange to dark red-orange depending on the species and variety. They similarly vary in size from 1.5 to 9 cm in diameter, and in shape the varieties may be spherical, acorn, or pumpkin-shaped. The calyx generally remains attached to the fruit after harvesting, but becomes easy to remove once the fruit is ripe. The ripe fruit has a high glucose content. The protein content is low, but it has a balanced protein profile. Persimmon fruits have been put to various medicinal and chemical uses. Like the tomato, persimmons are not popularly considered to be berries, but in terms of botanical morphology, the fruit is in fact a berry. Names and etymology. The word Diospyros comes from the ancient Greek words dios and pyrin. A popular etymology construed this as divine fruit, or as meaning wheat of Zeus or God's pear, and Jove's fire. The dio, as shown by the short vowel I, has nothing to do with divine, dio being an affix attached to plant names, and in classical Greek the compound referred to the fruit of the nettle tree. The modern Greek name for the fruit is lambda omega tau omicron sigma, which leads modern Greeks to the assumption that this is the lotus referred to in Homer's Odyssey. The word persimmon itself is derived from pər្sɪmən, pərsimmon, or pērσɪmən, from Powhatan, an Algonquin language of the eastern United States, meaning a dry fruit. Select species. While there are many species of Diospyros that bear fruit inedible to humans, the following are those that bear edible fruit. Diospyros khaki. The tree is native to Japan, China, Korea, Burma and Nepal. It is deciduous with broad, stiff leaves, and is known as the shizi, and also as the Japanese persimmon khaki in Japanese. It is the most widely cultivated species. Its fruits are sweet and slightly tangy with a soft to occasionally fibrous texture. Cultivation of the fruit extended first to other parts of East Asia, India and Nepal, and was later introduced to California and southern Europe in the 1800s and to Brazil in the 1890s. Numerous cultivars have been selected. It is edible in its crisp, firm state but has its best flavor when allowed to rest and soften slightly after harvest. The Japanese cultivar Diospyros is widely grown. The fruit has a high tannin content, which makes the immature fruit astringent and bitter. The tannin levels are reduced as the fruit matures. Persimmons like Diospyros must be completely ripened before consumption. When ripe, this fruit comprises thick pulpy jelly encased in a waxy thin-skinned shell. Sharon fruit is the marketing name for the Israeli-bred cultivar Triumph. As with all pollination variant astringent persimmons, the fruit are ripened off the tree by exposing them to carbon dioxide. The Sharon fruit has no core, is seedless and particularly sweet, and can be eaten whole. In the Valencia region of Spain, there is a variegated form of khaki called the Ribera del Duque, Spanish persimmon or Rojo brillante. Diospyros lotus date plum, also known as lotus persimmon, is native to Southwest Asia and Southeast Europe. It was known to the ancient Greeks as the fruit of the gods, and often referred to as nature's candy, i.e. Diospyros, hence the scientific name of the genus. Its English name probably derives from the Persian kormalu, literally date plum, referring to the taste of this fruit, which is reminiscent of both plums and dates. Diospyros virginiana or American persimmon is native to the eastern United States. Its fruit is traditionally eaten in a special steamed pudding in the Midwest, and sometimes its timber is used as a substitute for ebony. Diospyros digina black persimmon, a black sapota, is native to Mexico. Its fruit has green skin and white flesh that turns black when ripe. Diospyros discolor. The Mabilo, a velvet apple, is native to the Philippines. It is bright red when ripe. It is also native to China, where it is known as shizi. It is also known as Korean mango. Diospyros peregrina. Indian persimmon is a slow-growing tree, native to coastal West Bengal. The fruit is green and turns yellow when ripe. It is relatively small with an unremarkable flavor and is better known for uses in folk medicine rather than culinary applications. Diospyros texana. Texas persimmon is a species of persimmon that is native to central and west Texas and southwest Oklahoma in the United States, and eastern Chihuahua, Coahuila, Nuevo Leon, and Tamaulipas in northeastern Mexico. The fruit of D. texana are black on the outside, subglobose berries with a diameter of 1.5 to 2.5 centimeters, ripen in August. The fleshy berries become edible when they turn dark purple or black, at which point they are sweet and can be eaten from the hand or made into pudding or custard. Fruit. Commercially and in general, there are two types of persimmon fruit, astringent and non-astringent. The heart-shaped Ashia is the most common variety of astringent persimmon. Astringent persimmons contain very high levels of soluble tannins and are unpalatable if eaten before completely softened. However, the sweet, delicate flavor of fully ripened persimmons of varieties that are astringent when unripe is particularly relished. The astringency of tannins is removed in various ways. Examples include ripening by exposure to light for several days and wrapping the fruit in paper. Ethylene ripening can be increased in reliability and evenness, and the process can be greatly accelerated by adding ethylene gas to the atmosphere in which the fruit is stored. For domestic purposes, the most convenient and effective process is to store the ripening persimmons in a clean, dry container together with other varieties of fruit that give off particularly large quantities of ethylene while they are ripening. Apples and related fruit such as pears are effective, and so are bananas and several others. Other chemicals are used commercially in artificially ripening persimmons or delaying the ripening. Examples include alcohol and carbon dioxide, which change tannin into the insoluble form. Such bletting processes sometimes are jump-started by exposing the fruit to cold or frost. The resultant cell damage stimulates the release of ethylene, which promotes cellular wall breakdown. Astringent varieties of persimmons also can be prepared for commercial purposes by drying. Tannin-rich fruit will occasionally contain a seed or two, which can be planted and will yield a larger, more vertical tree than when merely grafted onto the D. virginiana rootstock most commonly used in the U.S. Such seedling trees may produce fruit that bears more seeds, usually 6 to 8 per fruit, and the fruit itself may vary slightly from the parent tree. Seedlings are said to be more susceptible to root nematodes. The non-astringent persimmon is squat like a tomato and is most commonly sold as fuyu. Non-astringent persimmons are not actually free of tannins as the term suggests, but rather are far less astringent before ripening and lose more of their tannic quality sooner. Non-astringent persimmons may be consumed when still very firm and remain edible when very soft. There is a third type, less commonly available, the pollination variant, non-astringent persimmons. When fully pollinated, the flesh of these fruit is brown inside, known as Geomr in Japan, and the fruit can be eaten when firm. These varieties are highly sought after and can be found at specialty markets or farmers markets only. Tsurunoko, sold as chocolate persimmon for its dark brown flesh. Maru, sold as cinnamon persimmon for its spicy flavor, and Hyakumi, sold as brown sugar, are the three best known. Before ripening, persimmons usually have a chalky or bitter taste. Production in 2013, world production of persimmons was 4.6 million tons, with China accounting for 43% of this total. Other major producers include the Republic of Korea, Japan, Brazil and Azerbaijan. Culinary uses: persimmons are eaten fresh, dried, raw, or cooked. When eaten fresh, they are usually eaten whole like an apple, cut into quarters, or sliced, though with some varieties it is best to peel the skin first. One way to consume very ripe persimmons, which can have a very soft texture, is to remove the top leaf with a paring knife and scoop out the flesh with a spoon. Riper persimmons can also be eaten by removing the top leaf, breaking the fruit in half, and eating from the inside out. The flesh ranges from firm to mushy, and the texture is unique. The flesh is very sweet and, when firm owing to being unripe, possesses an apple-like crunch. American persimmons and Diospyros.D are completely inedible until they are fully ripe. In China, Korea, Japan, and Vietnam, Hoshia persimmons after harvesting are prepared using traditional hand-drying techniques outdoors for 2 to 3 weeks. The fruit is then further dried by exposure to heat over several days before being shipped to market. In Japan, the dried fruit is called hoshigaki. In China, it is known as shibing. In Korea, it is known as gogum. And in Vietnam, it is called hongkho. It is eaten as a snacky dessert and used for other culinary purposes. In Korea, dried persimmon fruits are used to make the traditional Korean spicy punch sujangwa, while the matured, fermented fruit is used to make a persimmon vinegar called gamsukcho. In Taiwan, fruits of astringent varieties are sealed in jars filled with lime water to get rid of bitterness, slightly hardened in the process. They are sold under the name crisp persimmon or water persimmon. Preparation time is dependent upon temperature. In some areas of Manchuria and Korea, the dried leaves of the fruit are used for making tea. The Korean name for this tea is gamnipcha. In the old northwest of the United States, persimmons are harvested and used in a variety of dessert dishes, most notably pies. It can be used in cookies, cakes, puddings, salads, curries, and as a topping for breakfast cereal. Persimmon pudding is a dessert using fresh persimmons. An annual persimmon festival, featuring a persimmon pudding contest, is held every September in Mitchell, Indiana. Persimmon pudding is a baked pudding that has the consistency of pumpkin pie but resembles a brownie and is almost always topped with whipped cream. Persimmons may be stored at room temperature 20 degrees Celsius where they will continue to ripen. In northern China, unripe persimmons are frozen outside during winter to speed up the ripening process. Nutrient and phytochemical content. Compared to apples, persimmons have higher levels of dietary fiber and some dietary minerals, but overall are not of significant source of nutrients except for manganese and provitamin A beta-carotene. In a 100-gram amount, raw American persimmons are a rich source of vitamin C and iron. Persimmon fruits contain phytochemicals, such as catechin, gallication, and betulinic acid. Unripened persimmons and bezoars. Unripened persimmons contain the soluble tannin shabul, which, upon contact with a weak acid, polymerizes in the stomach and forms a glucoagulum, a foodball or phytobezoar that can affix with other stomach matter. These phytobezoars are often very hard and almost woody in consistency. More than 85% of phytobezoars are caused by ingestion of unripened persimmons. Persimmon bezoars often occur in epidemics in regions where the fruit is grown. Diospyros should not be of concern when consuming moderate quantities of persimmons. One case in medical literature from 2004 revealed a 51-year-old patient who had eaten a kilogram of unpeeled persimmons each day for 40 years. Surgery is sometimes employed, but Coca-Cola also has been used successfully to chemically shrink or eliminate persimmon-related bezoars. It is often advised that persimmons should not be eaten on an empty stomach. Horses may develop a taste for the fruit growing on a tree in the pasture and overindulge, also making them quite ill. Wood. Though persimmon trees belong to the same genus as ebony trees, persimmon tree wood has a limited use in the manufacture of objects requiring hardwood. It is hard, but cracks easily and is somewhat difficult to process. Persimmon wood is used for paneling in traditional Korean and Japanese furniture. In North America, the lightly colored, fine-grained wood of D. virginiana is used to manufacture billiard cues and textile shuttles. It is also used in the percussion field to produce the shaft of some mallets and drumsticks. Persimmon wood was also heavily used in making the highest quality heads of the golf clubs known as woods, until the golf industry moved primarily to metal woods in the last years of the 20th century. In fact, the first metal woods made by TaylorMade, an early pioneer of that club type, were branded as Pittsburgh persimmons. Persimmon woods are still made, but in far lower numbers than in past decades. Over the last few decades, persimmon wood has become popular among bowcraftsmen, especially in the making of traditional longbows. Persimmon wood is used in making a small number of wooden flutes and eating utensils such as wooden spoons and cornbread knives. Like some other plants of the genus Diospyros, older persimmon heartwood is blacky dark brown in color, in stark contrast to the sapwood and younger heartwood, which is pale in color. The trees of all species have stiff, tumescent leaves, but the female of the D. virginiana can look less turgid than the male because the leaves droop when fruiting, perhaps because of the heavier nutrient requirements. They grow swiftly, and are resilient to the stresses of unpredictable climates. Persimmons can tolerate and adapt to a wide range of climates. Persimmons are also known for the resistance to diseases and pests. They are one of the last trees to leaf out in the spring, and do not flower until well after the leaves have formed, bypassing the threat of blossom loss to frosts. The fruit hangs on the branches long into the winter. Because they grow swiftly and colonize off the root systems, they are ideal for helping recover habitat. A persimmon tree will be mature enough to bear fruit within 7 to 8 years. They hold their own against flooding riverbanks quite well and are listed in Stormwater Journal's list of water-holding trees. Folklore. In Ozark folklore, the severity of the upcoming winter is said to be predictable by slicing a persimmon seed and observing the cutlery-shaped formation within it. In Korean folklore, the dried persimmon has a reputation for scaring away tigers. Gallery